and welcome to the Christmas episode of Township Talk. I'm your host, Scott Southard. We have a treat for you today. We are speaking with MTA Life member Denny Olson, supervisor for Breitung Charter Township in Dickinson County. For 18 years, Denny has played the role of Michigan's own Santa, helping to find the Christmas tree that goes up at our capital in Lansing. MTA and its members have also had a long history around the state tree, as you will hear. During this holiday conversation, I am joined by our producer, Aimee West, who was able to attend last year's tree cutting ceremony in Ossian Township. Happy holidays, Denny. I got my Santa hat on. I'm ready for this interview. Thank you so much for coming into the studio. So let's start right at the beginning. When did you first start taking part in the Capitol tree selection?
Well, about 18 years ago. And the man who was involved in harvesting this tree with the Department of Technology Management and Budget retired. Mm-hmm. And then we got a new guy, and he didn't see this wasn't one of his top priorities. And I was president at the time of the Michigan Timberman Association, and so I got involved, and I got to know the guys from the state who were in charge of this project, and we became good friends. Mm-hmm. Nice. And they're both retired now, or one is retired and one is moved higher up the chain, so he's not involved in the tree anymore. But it really got my interest, and I saw the potential of this. And then when you experience when they light the tree, yeah, and there's 100,000 people there, and everybody is happy.
Oh, it's such a spectacular sight.
Oh, and man, I says, we got to take this up the next level. And so that's how I got involved. And so this year it's number 18 for me. And, I said when I hit 10, well, somebody else's turn to take over. Then we got to 15, somebody else's turn to take over. Well, nobody's really stepping up to the plate. And
you hear this here first, listeners. The call is out.
and maybe some people don't see how good of a project this really is, or how the friendships come out of this, and to get people and getting them thinking about Christmas. And let's hope to get the true meaning of Christmas and how all this stuff works. I have met so many people, I can't even begin to start putting a number on it, how many people I've worked with in these 18 years on this. From people who feed us to where we line things up with cranes and the bucket trucks and people hauling it as we're hauling the tree. When people see us and we stop at truck stops or restaurants or wherever, they're all right out there. And they want part of, can I have a little branch? Yeah. Can I have a pine cone or a spruce cone? I mean, well, sure, help yourself. Yeah. And the people who have been touched by this, a tree. Yeah. And most of you know that I hauled dead trees for 44 and a half years. That was my living, driving a log truck and owning them. And how many people would love to spend the majority of their life in the woods? And so I've been around trees for a long time, and now to be blessed with having a project with the one tree in Michigan per year that is everyone's tree. All Michiganders, that's their official Christmas tree. Yeah. And a guy like me to be able to be part of that team, what a blessing.
Yeah. Now, MTA has a pretty strong connection to the tree selection. I was looking over past articles and pictures, and it looks like a who's who of MTA at these tree cutting ceremonies. Who from MTA has been involved in the past around this?
Well, there's 3 board members that I've worked with, and Ken Gothier, I think, the longest, that he's been involved with me. With the tree, and then Diane Randall, we got her involved, and we cut a tree in her area 5-6 years ago by Houghton Lake, and man, did she do a bang-up job with a lot of the organization and all that. And then Bill Dietert, he goes wherever, and he wants to be there, and Bill is just great, and 3 fellow board members to be part of this from MTA and get involved with the timber industry guys, the Great Lakes Timber Professionals, who I represent. And I mean, it's just like a family affair. And when they can't make it, man, they feel like they missed Christmas dinner.
Right.
Yeah.
And they weren't there when the kids were opening up the Christmas presents. So, but, and then last year, when Ken Gothier was our president to the Township Association, and I says, Ken, we're on a mission. Whether you know this or not, but we have to find a tree from your area.
Right.
Okay.
And that tree's going to Lansing, and people are going to know that how involved you are. Your community is going to know, and so we're not only shining the light of the Timbermen's Association and the Timber Professionals Association, but the Township Association also. And we looked, and we found quite a few. Well, then how the process goes in the summer or early fall, the state guys from the Department of Technology, Management, and Budget, Heath and Chris and Olivia, we go and look at these trees, and then we analyze them and this and that. So we spent quite a bit of time in Alpena County last year.
You?
Yeah. And so, anyway, we weren't quite happy.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, as we were riding around, the famous tree showed up. There it was.
Yeah, it was
How many
big.
times had Ken driven by this tree right on Highway 23, right off the... And you just... That's how it happens.
Right.
When you're looking for them, and all of a sudden, wow, there's the tree.
It's like a light opens up above
Yep.
it, right? And you're kind of like, there she is.
And then, well, you ride around, you come and look at it from the other angle, and you're doing this and doing that, and well, somebody's got to go knock on the door.
Right.
What is that
And
like?
say, hi, I'm so and so, and this is who I represent. Great Lakes Timber Professionals and the State Capitol Christmas Tree. And we're looking at your tree out there. And I usually point to it, I don't know what all I do, but it just comes natural. Your words have to come out to present it. And most of the time it's shock and awe when you make the initial
Offer.
Yeah. Hey, we want to talk to you about your tree out here. And I've only, in the 18 years, had one lady tell me no.
Wow.
Oh.
I've had some that put me on hold. They were going to have to think about it. And the husband was home, and he was a tree hugger.
Okay.
And he said, well, I don't think so. I don't like cutting trees and this and that. But I listened to him and heard him out. But he says, I will tell my wife when she gets home. She was a teacher. And I will tell my wife. And they must have had quite a conversation, because she called right back.
Oh, really?
She says, I want to talk to you, and we would love for you to come and talk to us about taking that tree to Lansing. And it's all in the approach. You got to build a relationship with people. But back about, at least 15 years ago, right on US 2, coming across, and for about 2 miles or more each way, as you're driving, you can see this beautiful tree. And so I stopped there, and they have cabins and that for rent. And I knocked on the door, and I started talking to the lady. And she just looked at me, and didn't say much. I was running out of words to say. You might find that hard to believe, but I wanted her to start talking. And the words that came out were loud and clear. You will never, ever cut my dad's tree down. Oh. You will never, ever take that tree to Lansing. And that's about 15 years ago. And I think the lady has passed on now, because she would be in her 90s at least now. And so I just let it go. I tried to go around it a little bit with some of the logger buddies of mine. It's towards the east end of the UP. And when they were logging on their lands, and that they talked to her, and she was not about to give that tree up. Because it was her dad planted that tree, and that's... But now as I drive by that tree, and I tell this story many, many times, the tree is dying.
Oh, is it now? That's too bad.
And spruce are really dying off fast with the diseases. And it makes me sick to look at that beautiful tree, how it was.
Right.
And now you can almost see right through all the branches. It's about 70 feet tall, or maybe a little bit taller. And it's within a couple of years, there won't be a needle left on the tree.
That's too bad.
So, and that's what people got to understand. Trees are a life cycle just like we are. And, I'm really thankful that I've been able to work with an industry like we have, and it's a renewable resource. And there's so many uses for trees.
Yeah.
And trees are so needed, and they're needed for the oxygen we breathe. And every time you get new trees started, they're the ones that help us the most with that.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So, man, have I been blessed to be able to do this. So, I could tell stories about first impressions with people. When you ask them, it's like a deer in the headlights when you first approach them.
Now, do you have the Santa beard on when you're going up to the door?
Most of you know I don't need a Santa beard because I got one. I don't need the big belly like Santa got because I got one.
So you go up to the door looking a little like Santa saying, I want your tree for Christmas.
But it's been such a great opportunity for me and the new friends I've made.
Right.
And people, man, it's all about the team.
Well, it's such a community gathering when you're taking the tree down. I mean, it's incredible. School children show up, family members show up. It's just such a great bonding moment for everybody. Because I got to go last year, and we did a short video, and that was just so much fun.
Well, we've had over 2,200 people at one cutting.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Okay.
I mean, it's an event.
When you get all those kids there, you get them all fired up, and you got the high school bands, and you got the color guard there, and we get the bands going, and they're having a good time, and you know, it's chilly and nippy in the air. Sometimes you get a few snowflakes. Sometimes it's raining, and the wind is blowing, and you know.
Sounds like a beginning to a song.
You know, we were in Hancock one year, and my Vietnam Army buddy cut that tree. That's about a dozen years ago, and I was watching those kids in the band come marching in there, you know, and it was so cold, and I didn't sleep much that night in the hotel room there in Hancock or Houghton there, and the wind was blowing, and I was worried about the wind in that tree with the crane.
Yeah.
And you know, safety's got to be number one.
So true.
And I was worried about it. But then I was watching those band kids come marching in there, and it was so cold, and they had their lips blowing on those trumpets and all that.
Yeah.
I thought, oh man, that's got to be cold. How in the world can they blow those horns? You know? Oh, I got a lot of memories. So, but it's been fun. And then I usually, you know, we have a little program there, and we have the mayor or the supervisor of the township or do a welcome, and if we have a state reps or senators there or congressman or someone there, we give them a little chance to greet the public that are there and get things fired up, and then when it's all ready to start the power saw, and I get the kids all going, and on 1, 2, 3, timber.
And they yell.
They
yell.
You know how it works.
Yeah.
They never yell good enough till you give them about the third time.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you really got them going, and just to see those kids, you know. And it's all about that Christmas tree.
Isn't it though? Yeah.
And then it's a big job. You start at the top once you get the tree, and then the kids are gone and this and that. You got anywhere from 4 to 8 hours of tying limbs.
Oh, yeah, I wondered about
You got
that.
to start at the top, and every limb got to be tied in to the main part of the tree, because we got to be 11 and a half feet or less going down the road.
Right.
And we can't hit viaducts. Well, I'm not saying we haven't, and I'm not saying we've always been 11'6". But we usually don't have a problem, and the Mackinac Bridge have been great to us as crossing. They give us the escort, and we have to have a state permit for an over-width load.
Right.
But people have just, they all want to be part of it.
Yeah. Now, do you usually drive that across the state, or is it someone else, or do you share that duty?
Well, I've driven probably 7 or 8 of them.
Okay.
And this year I didn't drive. One of our members provides the truck, and you know, and then just think of what it takes to get a crane there all day.
Right.
Because the crane, we anchor it right away in the morning before the kids get there. So we need a bucket truck to go up about 2/3 of the way of the tree and put a hangman's knot on her, you know.
Yeah.
And then the tree never hits the ground.
No.
And so we that crane is there all day.
Right.
And then we get it so that when we go to start tying the branches, the tree is laying down, but the crane is holding it.
Right.
And we put the butt on the back of the butt end of the tree on the back of the trailer, so that's good and secure.
Yeah, it's almost at like a 90 or 45
Yeah.
degree
Okay.
angle. It's not. It's not standing upright at this point in time, and it's not laying down all the way. And I mean, it's a good sized crane. Like this is not a baby crane. You
Oh, yeah,
guys.
I've seen the trees. They're large.
Yeah. This is
And the crane companies, they like they don't all that's donated.
right.
Oh, nice.
The semis are donated. The bucket trucks.
It's very generous.
Yeah, and like the morning we go to start, we usually have a breakfast, and we have anywhere from 35 to 40 some people there. I want to there's some of these people have never met one another before, and as we bring the team together, there's something about food. I like it, but it brings people together.
Sure, yeah.
And they start talking, and then when we get out on the site and this and that, and then my wife, she's played a big role in this. She usually feeds the people. I just, here, you're in charge of that. And she's got a lot of people that help her with it. And I got a little grandson there. He's 8, and he's got to have his nose in everything. And he's excited about coming down for the lighting tonight.
Oh, nice.
And he called me real early this morning before my alarm went off and said, "D, we're on the way."
Nice.
And so he's got 435 miles to travel today. And so they're coming down, but he's got to be right up there with his hard hat and his vest and everything with the Christmas tree crew. And, so it's a day out of school too.
It's always good when you're that age as well.
So once the tree gets to Lansing, what happens then?
Okay, we always deliver on a Saturday morning.
Okay.
When there's very little traffic down by the Capitol. And there's a crane, Highball Express has been doing this for years. And I believe this is the 32nd or 33rd tree. 33rd, I believe.
33rd, yeah.
And this year, and I think they've been there to lift every tree off the semi, and we have the straps on the tree, and we hook them, and then they pick it off and set it down by the ground. Then they turn these Boy Scouts loose.
Yeah,
Scouts,
that's fun to watch.
And they're cutting all those ropes that are holding those limbs.
Oh, they're so excited to do it too.
And so we got going, and this is about 5-6 years ago. And one of the guys, from the team there, from the state here, caught this kid. He was in there with his knife, and he was cutting on one of our expensive straps.
Oh my goodness!
Oh no!
That we used to lift the tree. Well,
sure.
You can't.
No, yeah.
You can't. Oh man! So now we watch that too. So each year we learn something new,
Right.
something a little bit different happens. But we cut a tree in Jackson 4 or 5 years ago. It was 84 feet tall, and they didn't want it that tall anyway. But it was what a beautiful tree. Mm-hmm. But those limbs were such a project,
Really?
Yeah.
to get tied up so we could.
Gotcha.
It was a short haul, really.
Right. Yeah.
50 miles. Usually, I've had them come out of Hancock, Waters Meet, or Wakefield.
Okay.
So we've hauled them
400 or 500 miles.
about 500 miles, and so this was a short haul. But that one really gave us problems.
Yeah.
And so, as we're selecting the tree, we also look at the limbs.
Yeah.
And all this and that, and we got to look at wires.
Right.
We got to look at where this tree is. So there's a lot of things that go into
Well, it has
this.
to be pretty all the way around as well.
Oh yeah,
It's not just like pretty in the front or something. It's
right. But 2 years ago, we were cutting a tree in Stevenson, and the tree. When I met the crane owner, Plutchik, out of Menominee, and I brought him over there, or he met me by the tree, and I says, "Can you get that tree out of there?" He says, "I'm going to bring such and such crane. I'll have enough boom on it. We're going to pick that tree right over that house and over the power lines," and the power lines were 30-some feet tall.
Wow.
And set it right down on the street and lay it right down.
Okay.
I said, "You can do that?" He He said, that's the only way. He said, there's no other way to get it out of there.
Right, yeah.
He said, if you want that tree, I'll get it out there and it'll be on the street.
Nice.
And that was the first that I've been around, and I think that I know of, that we picked a tree and went right over the house.
Wow.
And when I told some guys that used to be on the tree crew,
Right.
they said it would have never, ever happened if I was in charge.
I can understand that, yeah.
But,
that
oh man, we
sight.
had fun.
Yeah.
And, I'm so glad that I can wear
Sorry,
my
it's my
township hat and my timberman hat, my timber industry and trucking industry,
Right.
and all these things can come together and make this such a wonderful project.
Yeah, it's a great relationship between
Yep.
everybody.
So we're recording this on the day of Silver Bells for this year. What is Silver Bells like for you and your crew?
Well, every year I say, well, I don't think I'm going to go next year. Because usually it starts out about 4 o'clock in the morning, getting up, getting on the road, driving down,
Right.
and you get down here and everything's rush, rush, rush. A lot of times we've been on some icy roads to get here so you can get downtown. And but then the excitement builds up, and they have a special place for us
Okay.
that the crew sits, and
Oh, that's
they,
great.
they even got some bleachers for us.
Oh, that's so
And
cool.
people that have been part of the harvest and part of the team. And so we get to sit there, and it's like a coming home.
Right.
And so we
See
we
the
have a good
family
time.
again. Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes it all worth that long drive, getting up, driving down here for that. And then, seeing the excitement of people in the vans and
Yeah.
and all the different floats. It's the parade. The Silver Bells in the city is about an hour and a half long, and then it gets quiet.
Mm-hmm.
You know the parade's over. You know what's coming,
Right.
and then you hear them, and they start the countdown, and then they light the tree, and the tree lights up.
Oh,
And it's always a relief because you wonder what can go wrong.
exactly. With that many lights.
When you light 10,000 lights on a tree, anything can go wrong.
Yeah.
Did something come unhooked or this or
Exactly.
that, blah, blah,
Did
blah.
one light bulb go out that makes the
Yeah.
entire line go out? Yeah,
Yeah.
I have that experience. I know what you're talking about.
And when you see that tree light up, man, it makes it all worth
Oh,
it.
it's spectacular.
And then the
It's-
fireworks, last year, they didn't have fireworks.
Right, because
so
of the
it was
construction.
totally different without the fireworks behind the
It
Capitol.
really is.
Yeah.
But it was there was construction going on, and they couldn't get back there, and to do it safely, I guess, is what I was told. So we're supposed to have a real good fireworks deal
Oh, good.
tonight, and so I'm looking forward to it. And the weather we think is going to cooperate. It's always the wind just blows through there like a wind tunnel.
It
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
And but that's the way it is, and so it's all part of it. But I love to watch the kids and to see the excitement and how people will come out for that. And I'm so proud to be a Michigander and to see our state capitol, and there's that tree.
Yeah.
All the people of Michigan's tree standing there being lit up, and all these people celebrating that and having a good time.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is
And celebrating it in a group. That's the amazing
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, because it is. There's a hush over the crowd as they're counting, and then when that tree lights up, it's you can hear like a collective gasp. It's
Yeah.
incredible. You don't get that too often in a crowd that size, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, us guys, we got our jackets and all that with the Christmas tree crew on it. And people come up to us and talk to us. And then you can tell stories, you know. And, I'm not very good at telling stories, but...
Oh, really?
I don't know about that one, but okay.
And, but, you know, you met another person.
Yeah.
And pretty soon somebody else and somebody else.
Right.
So you let the joy come out, and what a happy time. And then I'm pretty proud to be able to say that there's more trees growing in townships than there are in cities. I can't help myself, but
we like that as well.
Yes,
we're totally behind that one.
And I don't want to lie, so I got to tell the truth, and they got to listen to it because it is the truth.
Yeah.
But I guess, you know, okay, this is a Christmas tree. But think about when you grab that pencil, that was part of a tree.
Right.
When you look at the books, or the wood and the trim in your house, or all of these things.
Yeah.
When you brush your teeth in the morning, I think part of this toothpaste came from a tree.
Right.
Some people use wood for heat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Trees are so important.
Right. They're everywhere.
And Michigan is really blessed with trees.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's a lot of people say, you can't cut trees, shouldn't do this. But trees, in their lifetime, they get to a certain point, just like...
Right, they have a cycle like everything else.
Yep. And let's use them, but not abuse them. And that's the way I feel. And look at the jobs that trees create.
Yeah.
Right.
Look at our economies. Look at in our townships. There's a lot of townships that probably don't have many things going because of the timber industry. But just think of the townships that do.
Right.
Yeah.
And the communities that do. And the spin-off jobs. So I'm really proud to be part of the Township Association by being a supervisor in Breitung Township and being able to be part of an industry that is so important to this state and to all the communities. Like up in our township, we have the big paper mill. We have a lot of loggers. We got there's a lot of trucking going on, and all of that is spin-off jobs. And so when I look at this Christmas tree that I've been blessed to be able to bring to Lansing for 18 years, I also think about that also.
Right.
And then I think about a Christmas tree and what it represents in Christ in Christmas. And wow.
Yeah. So speaking of pencils and wood trim, what happens with the tree at the end of the season?
Well, a lot of the chunks of wood, if I can get them to cut them off right, we can get them back up north. And in the past, there's been some people who made Christmas ornaments out of them.
Oh, that's nice.
And so we don't like that wood just to go to waste.
Right.
Some of it, one time, Habitat for Humanity got them, and a guy with a wood miser sawed them up, and he used the 2x4s to go into a house that they were building.
Nice.
Oh, that's so
And
great.
so we try not to waste it. They grind up the limbs and all that stuff and get that out of there. But anything that could be sawed or whatever, I try and get back up north and that we make something out of it.
You mentioned somebody made a bench one year.
Yep, there's been some benches. Sometimes a Boy Scout for Eagle Scout project or something. I think that's been involved.
Okay.
And
It's quite a project.
yeah,
It really is.
but I watch these guys at these power saws, these carvers,
Uh-huh.
and man, they do an amazing job. And so I had a guy up in Cooks, and he carved me this 4-foot tall. It looks just like a Christmas tree. You got it painted
Oh, really?
like there's snow on the limbs and all that, and you get a big curve in the top of it and that. And
Huh.
I got it sitting in my family room in the basement there, and so I look at it every day, you know.
That's cool.
And so there's a lot of things that we don't let this go to waste.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a few other projects that I'd like to see happen, and so you just never know where that tree is going to end up,
Right.
and with what we're going to do with it.
It's good.
So, but I can't say enough about how the support that I feel that in the last 7, 8, 9 years, as I got involved with the Township Association, got on the board and that, and how people have come to really, a lot of people didn't even realize we took a tree to Lansing, and
Right.
how it started, and 33 years ago, when Silver Bells in the city started,
Yeah.
they didn't have a tree.
Right. They didn't. No.
And
It's just a parade.
the second year, and a friend of mine down here, she was our timber lobbyist for many, many years, Judy Augenstein, and Governor Blanchard was governor then. And she was working with his staff and all this and that, and the Silver Bells in the city parade their people. She says, well, I know just the crew that could bring a tree to Lansing.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you think about this? Let's talk about it. What kind of tree do you want? You know,
Right.
how big and this and that. And that's how this project got started.
Okay.
Sure.
And so I thank Judy Augenstein for her insight
Right.
and seeing this and how important that's been to the timber industry to be able to provide this tree for Lansing each year.
Okay.
We usually get together during the tree lighting too. So,
That's nice.
but yeah, and then to have Ken and Diane and Bill, and there's more people that want to get involved. It just keeps growing.
Right. That's the incredible thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and with Heath and Chris and Olivia, great team. They're the
They're
team
from
leaders right now
BTMB,
with
yeah.
the Department of Technology, Management, and Budget, and they're very good people to work with.
Yeah.
And we tease each other, and we might have a difference on this or difference on that, but we,
Yeah.
we tease each other back and forth, and pretty soon we got a good plan and another successful tree.
Yeah.
Well, I am definitely looking forward to this year's tree. I think it'll
Yeah,
be
I
fun.
look forward to seeing it. Thank you so much for coming to the studio, Denny. This has been wonderful.
Well, this is a great honor for me, and I never got to Lansing. I was pretty old when I started coming here. I don't know, 30, 40 years ago. And to be able to come down here and then have the privilege of working with a project like this. Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
My government teacher would roll over in his grave.
Christmas, Denny.
Well, Merry Christmas to you guys. And looking forward to seeing the light shine on it tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. I would like to thank Denny Olson for joining us in the Township Talk studio. And please remember that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of the MTA, our board, or our members. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, or if you have any questions about the show or the topics we covered, you can find us at michigantownships.org. Thank you for listening to Township Talk. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season.